Our mortals. The modern man is spiritually weak. He has little to no spirit, because the spirit has no demand in the modern society. I learned about Phurpa in 2020-2021 and understood that it is one of the most unique bands that I've ever heard in my life. It's a phenomenon that appears only once and there is nothing else similar in music. What is Phurpa and what do they stand for? Even though I consider Phurpa a ritual music band, its leader, Alexey Tegin, doesn't think so. What we do is like an empty box that we try to fill. It is not music. We bring it from our body and our mind into your body and your mind. Performance for them is a way to abandon all earthly attachments. According to Alexey Tegin, you can practice yoga and meditation, but it's all just a waste of time. Only through the outer violence you can achieve full contact with the universe. You begin doubt literally everything, including reality itself. In Phurpa, there is no inspiration, no philosophy, no books. It came from the dream, from nowhere, and that's it. Everyone has it. If you're crazy enough to pull it out, then you do it. Phurpa was established in the middle 90s in Moscow. It was started by a group of artists led by Alexey Tegin. In the beginning, the band was based in Fabric of Cardinal Art. It's the place where different artists could come, meet similar-minded people and express themselves. Originally, Fabric of Cardinal Art was located in the Squad building. The lineup changed regularly, but it was completely established in 2004. Alexey Tegin has the cult status in the Russian underground. His artistic path began approximately in the 1970s or 80s. In that period, he already had various music projects in different genres. Unlike some of his other projects, Phurpa has no electronic aspects at all. The band members don't use any synthesizers, they produce sounds with their bodies through low-pitched throat singing and Tibetan folk instruments. The vocal technique that Phurpa uses is called argued scud overtone singing. The purpose of that singing is to imitate the growl of the bull. It is a very complex technique that takes at least 10 years to master. Their instruments are not less interesting. Mostly it's Tibetan folk drums and pipes, although some instruments are even more peculiar. They have a seashell as a wind instrument and a drum that was made of two skulls that were sewed together. What about their costumes? Where did they get those outfits? Nowhere. Alexey Tegin made it himself on the sewing machine. He admires the handmade work. That's why in his projects he tries to create as many things as possible. I know this review is on Phurpa, but I cannot leave his side project Corpse without mentioning. It's the industrial side project that only performs live and never records any albums. The main concept of Corpse is this. After the World War III, almost all life on the planet Earth ceased to exist. Corpse is a group of two survivors who decided to play music. Unfortunately, all musical instruments were destroyed during the war, so the main characters made their own and play them the way they can. For this side project, Tegin made the instruments himself with a welding machine. I'm not sure if this concept is true or not, but this information I found on the internet. Now let's get back to Phurpa. In one of Tegin's interviews, he says that mentally he doesn't live in this world, and in his projects he draws the image of the world that only he sees. We are not missionaries, we consider ourselves terrorists. When we perform, our purpose is to blow your mind, to make you empty. It's good because there should come the time when you need to end that silliness and infinite melodrama. Now we know what Phurpa stands for. It's time to take a look at Phurpa not from the philosophical but from the artistic point of view. What is Phurpa? What do they do? Basically, they play ritual music that takes origins in Tibet. Specifically, they practice music and rituals of Tantric Buddhism and the pre-Buddhist religion of Bon. Bon is the shamanistic discipline that existed in Tibet before Buddhism came. The Bon tradition includes different rites from various ancestral cults. Phurpa is not a mere imitation of the Tibetan culture. All of the band members are deeply into it for decades, especially the leader, who has a rich experience visiting the Buddhist temples and speaking to monks. Besides that, Phurpa is also influenced by the ritual music from the ancient Egypt and Iran. Where did the band name come from? Phurpa is a ritualistic dagger that is used in the Tibetan Buddhism. It has 3 edges and the head of the angry Hayagriva god on its hilt. It is used to kill a sacrifice, to defend against the evil spirits, and to destroy all conceptions of reality and attachments to ego. When it's empty in your brain, you'll start writing your own history for yourself. Usually, when I make an artist review, I discuss his whole discography. This is not the case. Phurpa is the band that sets the live performance as the main priority. Live performances are more important to them because each one is a religious ceremony. Before performing live, they drink warm milk with a red pepper to prepare the throat for the singing. Otherwise, it would be a hard thing to do during 1 or even 2 hours. I never visited their concerts. I've seen only the YouTube videos. But I already understand that watching them live is a unique experience. Since 1990s, they made countless releases, and it's hard to find their full discography in the chronological order. This time, I will review only 3 albums from their discography. Their music is more or less similar, so my review will not lose anything from it. Those 3 albums will be an example of their music. The first album that I'd recommend to you is the collaboration between Visions and Phurpa. The album is called Monad. It was released in 2018. It's not a split album. The track list is not separated by the songs that were made by Phurpa and the songs that were made by Visions. Monad is a literal collaboration between both projects. It's a very decent work, very atmospheric. Visions contributed much more into this album than Phurpa, so there you'll hear more of drone ambient rather than Tibetan music. If you like drone ambient and want to get into Phurpa's music, this album is good enough to start. The next album that I would recommend is Ita Zor. It was released in 2014. This is not a collaboration album. It was fully made by Phurpa. As a brief introduction for you as the beginner, this album is a perfect choice. It is 33 minutes long, and it will give you the clear understanding of what Phurpa is. I listened to it while working on my documentary film, and the album made the process much more meditative. If you'd like something else from Phurpa, and if you don't mind listening to an hour-long album, then here's the third one that you need to listen. It is called The Sound of the Kini Laughter. It was recorded in 2009 and released in 2011. Out of these 3 albums, this one is the deepest. Amongst all of their records, it's Phurpa in its purest form. It's way more instrumental, thus more melodic. I also like the album cover where the band is sitting in the forest. I listened to it when I couldn't fall asleep, so it felt kind of dreamy. In the beginning, I didn't want to listen to Phurpa for an hour, non-stop, but then decided to do it. I have no regrets, this album was awesome. First 10 minutes felt a little tedious, but then I got used to it. Surprisingly, I still heard their music in my head for a few minutes after the album was over. This album is really good, especially for those who want to commit a deep dive into Phurpa. Phurpa is one of a kind. It's definitely something original that goes beyond the Tibetan Buddhist concepts. I remember I've seen one guy commented on YouTube that Phurpa is like if the Bloodborne video game had its own music band. I think it's the most precise description of Phurpa because their music is truly otherworldly. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, press like, subscribe and leave a comment to help my channel grow. You can also support my channel by buying my music on Bandcamp. Farewell, stay out of hell.